What if one of the world's most crowded cities was actually easier to live in than your own? Hong Kong has millions of people packed into a relatively small area, yet it uses smart systems and clever design choices that make daily life feel far more efficient than you'd expect. Today we're looking at 14 everyday Hong Kong ideas that quietly solve problems most of us deal with every single day. Number 1. Double-decker trams. That cost almost nothing to ride. Most cities that built tram networks eventually tore them out, because once car traffic gets dense enough, a tram sitting in the middle of the road starts to look like the problem. Hong Kong never pulled them. The tram on Hong Kong Island runs along the flat northern corridor at street level, stops constantly, and charges a flat fare no matter how far you ride. You tap on, go wherever you're going, tap off. That's it. And because the fare is so low it barely registers, people use it for short trips they'd otherwise take a taxi for. So instead of dozens of individual taxis making the same small hops, you've got one vehicle moving a full load of people on track that's already there, paid for, and running. Number 2. Octopus Card for nearly every daily purchase. Someone hands you a small plastic card when you arrive, and they tell you it works on the MTR, the buses, the trams, the ferries, the convenience stores, the vending machines, and most fast food chains. Sounds like too much, but it's all true. In most cities, you're juggling cash for one thing, a transit card for another, an app for parking, a credit card for the coffee shop. Each switch costs you a few seconds and a small mental reset, and that adds up across a full day. The Octopus Card runs on stored value and processes transactions locally, so it doesn't need a phone, an app, or a network connection at the reader. It just works in under a second every time. When paying costs zero thought, you stop treating payment as something that happens to you and just move. Number 3. Covered walkways connecting entire neighborhoods. Hong Kong is hot, humid, and rainy for a big chunk of the year, and an umbrella only gets you so far when it's 30 degrees and the air feels like a wet towel. Most cities just leave weather as your problem. You check the forecast, you carry something, you get wet anyway. Hong Kong built around it instead. Large sections of the urban core are connected by covered, air-conditioned walkways that link transit exits, office towers, shopping areas, and residential buildings across entire districts. You can walk through the central business district for stretches at a time without stepping outside once. When walking is uncomfortable, people take short taxi trips or skip the trip entirely. Make it comfortable and they walk further, use transit more, and move through the city in a way that actually keeps traffic down. Number 4. Escalator networks built into hillsides. Hong Kong Island is steep enough that the residential neighborhoods above Central side on hillsides you'd genuinely struggle to climb every morning carrying anything. For a long time, residents just did that climb. Every day, both ways. You can't flatten a hill, and stairs stop working when thousands of people are using the same slope twice a day. So Hong Kong built a continuous covered escalator system that runs straight up through the hillside neighborhoods. In the morning, it runs downhill toward the business district, and in the afternoon, it reverses and carries people back up. What nobody planned for was what happened along the route. Because the escalator made foot traffic predictable and consistent, restaurants and shops opened up along the path, and an entire commercial corridor grew out of what used to be just an obstacle. Number 5. High-rise living designed around convenience. In most cities, a residential tower is basically vertical storage. You go up to sleep, you come down to live, and the building itself doesn't do much in between. Hong Kong residential towers are built with retail and services on the ground floors and podium levels. So the building contains a convenience store, a pharmacy, a restaurant, and often a full supermarket. Some larger developments add gyms, childcare, and medical clinics on those same floors. You don't leave the building for any of it, you just go downstairs. For someone working long hours, that compression from a few blocks down to a few floors is genuinely time back in the day. Not in some abstract sense, but the difference between getting dinner done and not getting it done at all. Number 6. Minibus system that fills transportation gaps. Every transit network has gaps, and in most cities those gaps get filled by taxis or ride-hailing apps, which cost more and add private cars to roads that are already full. Hong Kong runs two types of minibuses instead. The green ones follow fixed routes with fixed fares, covering streets that are too narrow or too low demand for a full-size bus to operate on without losing money. The red ones go further, picking up and dropping off passengers on request along a general corridor. No fixed stops required. So the MTR and the main bus lines don't have to stretch themselves across every street in the city. They run the high-volume corridors, and the minibuses handle everything the fixed network can't reach cheaply or practically. Number 7. Footbridges that let pedestrians avoid traffic completely. Every signalized crossing in a city is basically a scheduled pause built into the street grid. Pedestrians wait, the light changes, they cross, cars wait, and that cycle repeats thousands of times a day across thousands of intersections. The standard fix is to add more pedestrian crossing phases to the signal timing, which helps foot traffic but eats into the time vehicles get. Hong Kong skipped that trade-off entirely in its densest districts by building an elevated footbridge network that runs above the streets, connecting directly into building entrances and transit exits so you never have to touch street level if you don't want to. Both flows run continuously because neither one crosses the other's path anymore. Pedestrians move, cars move, and the intersection stops being something anyone has to wait for. Number 8. Compact apartments with transformable furniture. A typical Hong Kong apartment runs around 450 square feet. And that's not the small end, that's the average. Small space in most places gets treated as something you put up with until you can afford better. In Hong Kong, the furniture industry treated it as an engineering problem instead. So what you get in a lot of apartments are beds that fold flat into the wall and free up the entire floor during the day. Dining tables that collapse down to almost nothing, and storage built into every wall surface from floor to ceiling. Some units use sliding partitions to split or open the space depending on what you need at that hour. So the same room is a bedroom at night, a workspace in the morning, and a dining room by evening without adding a single square foot. Number 9. MTR, trains arriving every few minutes. When trains come every 15 or 20 minutes, the schedule runs your day. You leave early to avoid missing one, you stand on a platform doing nothing, you pad every trip with buffer time just in case. The MTR runs every 2 to 3 minutes during peak hours on its busiest lines, and even off-peak you're rarely waiting more than 10 minutes. At that frequency, you stop checking the schedule entirely. You just walk to the station when you're ready and a train pulls in almost immediately. And the punctuality is just as consistent as the frequency, with on-time rates sitting above 99% across the network. So the mental model of the train will be there almost never breaks down. You stop treating the transit system as something to plan around and just use it. Number 10. Wet markets located within walking distance of homes. In most cities, food shopping is a weekly event. You drive to a large supermarket, fill a cart, haul it home, and pack a refrigerator big enough to store everything until next week. Hong Kong's wet markets don't work that way. They're small, neighborhood-level market halls sitting within a 10-minute walk of most residential areas, and because they're that close, people shop daily instead of weekly. You buy what you need for tonight and maybe tomorrow, and that's it. Because turnover is high, the produce and meat moving through these markets is genuinely fresh, often sourced that same morning. Less planning, less waste, and no need for a large freezer at home. Number 11. Building shopping malls directly above transit stations. A transit station generates foot traffic on a reliable schedule, and in most cities that foot traffic walks out the door and disperses onto the street. Hong Kong captures it before it leaves. The MTR Corporation doesn't just run the trains, it develops the real estate directly above the stations, so shopping malls and office towers connect straight to the fare gates through internal corridors. You step off the train and you're already inside a retail environment without touching the street. What makes this more than just convenient is what it does to the finances. Property revenue from those developments feeds back into the transit system, so the MTR doesn't need to cover all its costs through fares alone. That's why frequency stays high and fares stay low. The mall above the station is literally part of what pays for the train below it. Number 12. Elevators and ramps integrated into steep urban areas. Stairs are the default answer to elevation change, but stairs are slow when you're carrying anything, and they cut out a big chunk of the population entirely. Hong Kong's street network changes elevation constantly, not just on the dramatic hillsides, but throughout the everyday urban grid. And for a long time, that meant older residents, parents with strollers, and delivery workers with loaded carts all had a harder time using the same elevated walkway network everyone else moved through daily. Public elevators and ramps connect street level to the footbridge network at regular intervals across the city. And a lot of these weren't retrofitted as an afterthought. Many got planned into the original structures from the start. Number 13. Small neighborhood shops open late into the night. In most cities, the errand window closes around 9 or 10 at night. Miss it and you're waiting until tomorrow. Hong Kong doesn't work that way. Convenience stores, pharmacies, small food vendors, and neighborhood shops stay open well past midnight across most residential districts, and a lot of them run around the clock. This isn't just cultural, it's a direct response to a city where work hours are long and unpredictable. So the ability to buy groceries or medicine at 11 at night is what makes the schedule actually workable. The reason it's economically viable is density. There are enough people within walking distance of any given shop at any hour to keep the lights on, and Hong Kong sits well above whatever population threshold makes that math work. Number 14. Dense mixed-use districts where everything is nearby. Most cities zone by function, residential over here, commercial over there, and you drive between them to do different things, which means that movement gets baked into every single day whether you want it or not. Hong Kong's densest districts stack all of it vertically. Residential floors sit above offices, which sit above retail, which connects directly to a transit entrance with a wet market around the corner and a school 2 blocks away. You're not choosing to stay close, everything just actually is close. And this is where all the other systems in this video stop being individual ideas and start working as one thing. The tram only makes sense if your destination is nearby. The wet market only fits into your day if you don't need a car to reach it. Strip out the density and each system loses most of what makes it work.